All right. Ready? We're on the air? Okay. Like to call this meeting to order, a regular meeting of the village board, actually a special meeting, but considered regular on Tuesday, September 3rd at 7 p.m. in the Germantown Village Hall boardroom, and also can be accessed via WebEx. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with sections 19.83 and 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes in such form that will apprise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for consideration and action. Roll call shows all village board members present except for trustee Warren, who is excused, trustee Hudson, who is excused, and trustee Rick Miller, who is also excused. Trustee Jolene Pieper is joining us virtually tonight, so she is on WebEx. At this time, I'll ask us all to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item is President's Report. Just one thing to report tonight. This Friday, September 6th, from 4 to 7 p.m., the Germantown Police Department is having a K9 fundraiser and brat fry, and that will be at the Germantown Police Department parking lot. And if you are there, you'll be able to meet Archie, who is the Germantown Police Therapy Dog. So if you'd like to support the Germantown K9 Fund, meet the police officers and get a brat in the balance, please join them on Friday from 4 to 7 p.m. in the Germantown Police Department parking lot. That's all I have to announce. So we can go to announcements of forthcoming events of public interest, committee and department reports, starting with committee chairs and trustee Kaminsky.
Public Works will meet in this room tomorrow night at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you. And then we have trustee Rick Miller for GGF. The next GGF meeting is the 16th at what time? 5:30. 5:30 here in the Germantown boardroom. And then we also have public safety, which I believe is next Monday.
Yes, 5 p.m.
5 p.m. from 5 to 6 as well. All right, thank you. Does anyone else have anything else for announcements of forthcoming events of public interest, committee or department reports they'd like to bring forward?
If I could just say, I apologize for appearing virtually tonight. I know that is frowned upon by some people, but I am very, very not feeling well. But I knew if I didn't at least attend virtually, there wouldn't be a quorum. So my apologies.
Not a problem. If you're not feeling well, trustee Pieper, we're happy to have you at home with your germs. So thank you for being thoughtful and staying home with your illness. We appreciate that, and I'm sure everyone here does. If there's nothing else, we can then go to citizen input. Anyone that is within our audience or joining us via WebEx, I'd like to participate in citizen input is welcome to do so at this time. If you're within an audience, we would ask you to fill out one of the yellow slips and turn it into the village clerk so we can get your name and your address correct for the record. If you're joining us via WebEx, if you can make your intentions known so that the moderator can recognize you at the time for your citizen input. So anyone wishing to come forward for citizen input is welcome to do so at this time.
Can you come and get it from me, Ms. Bednarz?
Mm-hmm.
Are we on now?
Yes, you're on.
Hello? Oh, okay. Couple things have come up, and I asked Mr. Walter if I could have a list of the Ethics Committee board. I have not yet received it. It's been about 4 weeks, so I'd like to, I know it's probably a lot to get it, but I'd like to have that, very soon if possible.
Sure.
This current board has been making some very disturbing decisions, okay? And I know I'm not your favorite person. I'm after one thing. I'm for the taxpayers. And in 2017, our taxpayer debt was approximately $25 million. And in 8 years under this direction of this board, it is now approximately $91,223. That's incredible. That is not sustainable for a population of 21,000 and some people, citizens in this village. What's going on with your decisions? I don't think they're very smart. And the debt is going to start rising. When I look at some of the stuff going on, the Grosnick building again, I would call Greg and sell him the building and don't put this burden on our taxes. A lot of people are mad, and I hope there's somebody at home listening tonight about this, because $1 million was taken out of our tax fund, which is not been approved by the taxpayers. And I would like to know why. The taxpayers have a legal right to control your spending, and it needs to start with meetings. They need to be invited to your meetings, and it's not happening yet, and it's been suggested many, many times. And for an example, I've got one issue here now I want to bring up with Crossway Church. I understand what it's my family church, and I understand what they're looking for. I drove around today all over. I went down Santa Fe. There is absolutely no out. I would like a little extra time to explain this. There's no outlet. Every outlet that you have, Council Bluffs an outlet, Santa Fe goes all the way to Donges Bay, and the only outlets that clear are all cul-de-sacs. I was surprised. I didn't know there was that many cul-de-sacs there off of Santa Fe, but there are. And there is a way to solve this problem. You do not need to spend thousands of dollars for a traffic study. I live there. I'll give you the traffic study for nothing. This is ridiculous. And there is no other exit, but here's the plan. I went to Elmbrook Church for many years when I lived in Tulsa. The church, because of their fabulous pastor, Stuart Briscoe, who's passed away now, but he brought in at least 7,000 people as members of that church. There were thousands of cars going in and out, and the neighborhood complained in the beginning when they moved there. Here's the solution, okay? If you I know I don't think you're going to open it up to a exit. However, the only exit that's logical is Council Bluff. I live there, okay? The Council Bluff is only 2 houses north of Crossway's exits. Why would you exit on Council Bluff, mess up the whole neighborhood everywhere, and have paid thousands of dollars for a traffic study? Crossway has 2 exits. All they have to do for 300 cars, Elmbrook had thousands of cars. You need a police presence on Sunday morning, okay? The Pilgrim Road, I live there, they're not that busy on Sunday morning, and the only service that's really busy is the middle one at 10:30, I believe it is. And you have 2 driveways right now. You widen the one driveway, and you put the cars, you put a sign, exit only. The other driveway north, you put enter only. You put an arrow on the exit north this side of the drive, exit south this side. And you have police directing traffic, and within 40 minutes, that will be cleared out of the parking lot. You do not need a traffic study. You do not need an exit coming out of Santa Fe and screw up the whole neighborhood and everybody's lawns. I drove all the way around everywhere there. It's absolutely ridiculous, using my favorite word, okay? But if you go look at it, it makes common sense. You need 2 police officers there on Sunday morning for a couple hours. That's it. The middle service is the busiest one. You don't need anything else. And if you talk to the church, all they got to do is widen those 2 driveways to allow north and south to go out and coming from north and south to go in. And it's all set for 300 cars. A church can handle 1,000 cars. I think you guys can handle 300 with suggesting this to the church.
Were you at the meeting on Monday?
Huh?
Were you at the meeting on Monday?
No.
Okay, that was suggested to the church. They were told to look into that.
They what?
They were told to look into that.
Oh, good. That's the only solution to this, rather than messing up the whole.
They were told to look into it.
Huh?
They were told to look into that.
Are they going to?
Well, that's up to the church.
That's up to the church.
I'll talk to, I know some of the people on the board there, so.
You're preaching to the choir.
Well, I mean, it's just a night, I mean, I didn't know what you did, so I'm sorry, I didn't understand that, okay? But that's your only solution. And,
That was a solution suggested by the church, and we just put it through its process, but the plan commission did not approve that suggestion and told them to work with the police department for their busy times. And that's what came out of plan commission.
all right, then who's gonna talk to them a little bit further on it? Who's
They're
gonna,
going to have to talk to the police department.
huh?
They'll have to reach out to the police department and start a channel of communication with them.
Who suggests things to the police department?
Plan commission suggested that they get with the police department to work that out.
And who's the head of the planning commission?
I am.
Well, why wouldn't you talk to them then? Well, how, what, that means that you put it, you didn't like it then if you're head of the commission?
Boom.
You said the planning commission didn't approve it. That's you.
Correct. Yes, we didn't approve their access to Santa Fe Drive. We told them,
Oh, I thought you meant you didn't approve the 2 exits.
no, we didn't approve their access to Santa Fe Drive.
Okay, are they going to consider the other 2?
Well, that is up to them and their board of elders or however they structure their decision-making.
Okay, I'll talk to some people too, because I know a couple people on the board.
Okay.
Uh,
Are you about wrapping it up then? Ms.?
Yeah, and then I am also gonna start. What if the police don't want to do it?
You know what? They're meant to protect and serve. So I think that they should be able to,
Handle it?
well, absolutely handle it, but they should be able to work something out that's agreeable to both parties. That is, I fully believe that.
All right, and also I am gonna start putting an article in the paper, the Express. It's gonna be called the Germantown Citizens Action Committee. I'm going to encourage people to come to these meetings, to start getting a voice with how our money's being spent. And I'll tell you what, a word of warning right now with what's going on with our elections. If a certain party wins, we're gonna have a lot of trouble. Stock market is starting to be sold off in charge of this situation. And you can shake your head at me if you want, but I know what I'm talking about.
I'm not shaking my head at
And
anything.
I'm just saying you need to cut your spending because you are going, the money that you're putting us in debt is criminal. It's ridiculous. You need to be wiser control of our money. So I will talk to the church about that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time for citizen input?
Okay. Melanie Smythe, N140W17938 Cedar Lane. I just have 4 quick points. The first one is about the missing calculations from a presentation that was made by Steve Krecklow regarding some numbers that came out of the school board. About a month ago, I had requested those because as part of his presentation, the rebuttal was just a statement about numbers, not any actual calculations. So I'm still looking for those numbers. The second point is I recently had an opportunity to look at a 2018 Village Center Saxony Village report. And I was curious as to why this wasn't made public and why it wasn't in an exhibit to the 2050 plan, because it has a lot of good information in there. And I think it should be on the comprehensive plan as an exhibit of prior planning information. The third point is I'm glad that the amendment to the ordinance tonight is going to be voted on to include on the Plan Commission an advisory position from the school board. I think that's great, good step forward. Thank you for doing that. I hope it's a positive vote. And the last thing I will just say is that this whole thing about the Green Hills conditional use permit, I hope that this will get resolved quickly and fairly and without any additional expenses for the gentlemen who are in a small business. Small businesses cannot afford large expenses. And I think that both the Plan Commission and engineering need to do everything they can to get this done as quickly as possible because of the delays earlier in the process from February through May, and also an apparent lack of understanding as to what it is that they are doing. So I would appreciate that you actually really dig into that, help them get into business without any more expenditures. Thanks.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time for citizen input?
Scott Heffley, W159 and 10514 Old Farm Road, Germantown. Just a few quick points. First of all, I was made aware there's a problem with Channel 25. I hope it's being worked on and will be fixed pretty soon. We spent a lot of money on Channel 25. We spent probably 15 grand, 12 grand last year to fix it, and it just goes on and off. Over the last few years, we did spend a lot of money on that. So,
Not just on Channel 25.
well, okay, but Channel 25 needs to work for the older residents to be able to watch these meetings. They don't all have WebEx, so. I'm bringing it to the attention because it was brought to my attention, and I hope it was brought to trustees' attention. Please don't interrupt me, sir. I have the floor.
You don't have the floor because you're not a board member. You are in here.
I have citizen comments.
I have,
Dean, I have 3 minutes,
You
don't I?
have 3 minutes, yeah, but you don't have.
But you're interrupting me.
Go ahead.
Start the time back.
And by the way, all meetings are broadcast on Channel 25. The only issue is when it's to run the PowerPoint presentation. That's where the issue is with Channel 25. And we're trying to work that out currently so that it will continue to work as it did previously. But as it stands today, all meetings are broadcast on Channel 25. Go ahead. It
Right.
doesn't matter. You guys go over the timer anyway, so just go.
I don't. I try to stay within the
I
timer
appreciate that.
if I'm not interrupted. So I guess we'll forget about that one. So Meg, trustee Cuts, congratulations, getting on the school district committee and library board. There's still a plan commission seat that's still in flux and you're working on that, I hope. There's someone from the school board that wishes to be on the plan commission. I hope that's coming to some sort of resolution. I guess my real comment is I'll bring up the budget because apparently we're not going to talk about the budget really until the end of September because it's being hashed about. That's fine. But I'm confused about seal coating. I live on Old Farm Road, as I've told everybody in here. Our road was completely reconstructed in 2019 and then it was seal coated in 2021. Now it's being seal coated again. Okay. So it's a brand new road, all reconstruction. Why are we seal coating a road twice when we have other roads, especially north of Freistadt, that are in horrible disrepair, horrible. And I don't mean Maple because we're working on it, and I don't mean Division Road because we're going to do something with that. You live north of there, some of you live north of Freistadt, there's horrible roads. I drive them all the time. Why are we seal coating Old Farm twice after a reconstruction? Don't we, isn't there any other money we can use to seal coat some other roads, stripe some other roads? I mean, I'm just questioning, they got their budget cut by 100,000. They want it back. Well, obviously we don't have anything to seal coat if we're redoing Old Farm over and over again. So I don't know what's happening with the PACER ratings and any of that stuff, but that needs to be looked at because I think, we have a problem here. We have unlimited wants and limited resources. That's what you got. It's simple economics. And just, if you're going to seal coat Old Farm, hey, I live there, great, but don't seal coat it every 2 years. Work on another road, please. Ours was completely reconstructed. All right. So I don't get that. I guess the final thing, and sorry for going over, the final thing is I'm up here looking at Trustee Baum and Trustee Kaminsky for the 7th time asking you to call me. Still haven't gotten a call. And I'm saying it in public, on camera. I'd appreciate a phone call from either one of you whenever you get to it. And it hasn't happened in 3.5 months. So that's all I have. No, I'd just like to speak with you.
Thank you for coming forward.
Sarah Larson, Butternut Road. Thank you very much for finally honoring those open records requests. I've been going through the information. Certainly provides a lot of interesting reading material. I'm here to again ask for the return of the conditional use permit fee for the resident regarding the Grossnick property, which you guys snatched up from under them. Other commenters have mentioned concerns about spending and the budget. I would concur with that. When we're looking at the Holy Hill project and right-of-way that needs to be acquired and what that cost per acre is going to be to do that, I'm curious as to how many acres we're going to be looking to acquire. And the fact that we're paying such a premium price for land in this village, I question all these purchases, and is this really the time, knowing that we are going to be in some financial issues? I'm curious about all of the parcels being acquired for the village center, and how do you plan on paying for those? And when will it become visible about a TID plan, along with when will the traffic plan be shared as to the impact at the corner of Pilgrim and McWan Road? I believe that was completed in July. I also concur with the previous commenter on how Green Hills has been treated by the Plan Commission and how this goes. We're expecting businesses to want to come to Germantown, but the businesses aren't being treated very well when they are here, and they're willing to help our community thrive. The other thing is with the police department and not being staffed after 10 p.m., I am concerned. I hadn't really given it much thought, and then someone reached out. They were a victim of domestic abuse, and they have concerns about someone who is abused and going to an unmanned facility, to expect someone who's in distress to be able to suddenly get in the lobby, have their wits about them, to know that they need to lock the door and call someone. I think some other mechanism needs to be worked out for that, whether it be some sort of camera sensor that registers when someone's at the door, because it's public knowledge to everybody that it's going to be unmanned. So is that really a deterrent anymore for someone to show up at the police department? If it's still going to take people time to respond, someone can very easily be taken, or they can just be killed right there in the lobby. So just something to think about. Thanks.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time for citizen input? Anyone online? No. All right. And that concludes this portion of the agenda for citizen input. That then takes us to consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve consent agenda items A and B as presented.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? No discussion? There's no money. I just do regular. Village attorney?
Our code may actually require.
Okay, that's fine. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Cutts. Trustee Baum.
Aye.
Trustee Jan Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Kaminsky. Trustee Pieper.
Aye.
Village President Walter.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion passes. That then takes us to new business, starting with new business item A, appointment of trustee Meg Cutts to serve on the library board.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion to approve trustee Meg Cutts to serve on the library board? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Next item under new business is item B, appointment of trustee Meg Cutts to serve on the school district's Building and Ground Commission.
Motion to
As
make
presented.
approval for item B, appointment of trustee Meg Cutts to serve on the school district's Building and Ground Commission.
We have a motion by trustee Jan Miller. Did I
Second.
get a second?
Sorry, President Walter. Was Trustee Baum, was that your motion initially, or?
Doesn't matter. I'll rescind mine.
I'm sorry, I heard both of you speak at the same time.
That's fine.
Is someone,
Motion and I'm the second.
all right, trustee Kaminsky is the second. Any discussion on the motion to approve? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All approved, motion carries. Last item of new business is item C, ordinance amending section 1.29 subsection 1 of the Germantown Municipal Code to amend the membership of the Plan Commission.
Move approval as presented.
I'll second, but I think it's important for us to discuss it so people know what we're talking about.
Okay? Motion made and seconded. Discussion or
Somebody
information?
give us
Village attorney?
some information.
Sure.
Sure. So this came out of primarily a suggestion that was part of some of the overall planning efforts that had been going on in terms of including a school district member on the plan commission. So the code basically does that, makes an advisory position for a school district member. That member is appointed by the school board, and we allow it to be a non-resident of Germantown if that's what the school district decides to do. The idea primarily being that it's a back and forth type of, they can bring information to us, they can take information back to the school board in terms of what's there. Then while we were touching that particular code provision, we did just clean it up a little bit to reflect both how we currently operate and have operated basically in my entire tenure, which is that typically village president had appointed the trustee to the plan commission and it was confirmed by the board. So we just made that change to clarify that. And then we also just eliminated the language that allows for basically any member to sit on the plan commission. That's just not good practice. It's frowned upon in a number of places. And there's even some case law that suggests that may not even be legal in terms of what's there. So we just eliminate that. Again, in my tenure, I think it's only been used maybe once or twice that I'm aware of as well. So it's not something that typically is done. So that's the changes that are being made and being proposed.
Okay. Further discussion on the motion to approve, trustee Jan Miller.
So the proposal is great to put the representative of the school district on the plan commission. That's what I thought it was. And now we're sliding in some other changes. If the plan commission should be 7 voting members, I want a clarification. Does that mean that the school district representative will be a voting member?
No, the school district member is not a voting member under the proposed code. Likewise, they would not count towards the quorum. They're just there in an advisory capacity, again, to be an exchange between this body and the school board, primarily of information that may be relevant to each party.
But they have input.
Right.
Okay, I have another question. So the you're also saying that the ordinance changes the appointment of the trustee member to match historical practice. Historical practice for the village, historical practice for the state. What does the state statute say, Brian?
Statute just says basically that the governing body can choose how they want to make the appointments, and they do that in the code. I will tell you that in my experience in the various communities that we represent and the numerous communities that I've appeared before prior to kind of doing municipal law full-time, it's all over the board. Some places do it this way, some places do it this way. Our code, as you can see, originally actually contemplated that the trustee member was effectively appointed by the board itself.
Right.
I've always taken the opinion that the president is a member of the board technically by statute. And so the process isn't defective in the sense that we weren't creating issues with the way the appointment was made. But nonetheless, we just clean it up just to make it match what we actually do. So.
Well, I think it also means that we weren't exactly following the statute as it was written, because the appointment was made by one person, the village president, and not the whole board, and then voted upon.
Voted on the recommendation, and
But it was your recommendation.
all of the committees are my recommendation. Every single one of them, including the ones you sit on.
Not according to the way it's written.
Right. The code as it currently stands just says that the trustee member is elected by the body, in other words, voted on by the body. The fact that the president made a suggestion, just like any of his other appointments, the board is free to vote for or against it as they see fit. And if they voted against it, they could have nominated somebody in his place or her place, as the case may be. And as I say, it's just, reflective of what, at least for as long as I've been here, and my understanding is even before that, we've done. The only reason I made the change, Trustee Miller, is that at one point somebody had asked the question about it, and it didn't make sense to just touch it just for the sake of touching it, because again, I think what we were doing complied with the code as it's written. But since we were touching that section anyway, I typically keep a list of things that at some point we're going to fix. This was on that list. And so we touched this code provision. And so we just made the corrections that are appropriate.
So you're making, so my point is you're making actually 3 corrections to one ordinance, not just the representative of the school district. And then the final one you have down here is you're saying that a trustee cannot act as an alternative member of the plan commission.
Correct.
Why is it, what cases have you seen where it's in violation?
Well, I mean, certainly from just a practice standpoint, you worry about folks gaming the system. In other words, you hold a special meeting on a day that none of the plan commission members can be there, and then you have folks that have a particular point of view one way or the other to either approve or deny a particular proposal that's there. Under our code, that's perfectly allowable to have this body effectively step in the role of the plan commission. That is inappropriate to say the least. You have a plan commission for a reason, but likewise, there are cases that talk more generally, and in fact, the league guidance on this as well talks about more generally where you have circumstances where you have the ability to kind of come in and out of a body, and you don't know what your ultimate what your voting requirement is, what's a quorum, how do you deal with walking quorums and not walking quorums. All of those things come into play when you have the ability to just kind of come and go onto a body without having set lists of membership.
Well, could you say the same thing goes for any of our boards then?
Yeah, I mean, certainly as it relates to the standing committees, which allows trustees to fill a position in that point, I will be making that same change at a point where we touch that particular code provision as well. I don't think that that's an appropriate provision within the code. I never have, but it was something that this body didn't choose to touch at one point. And so when we look to make a bigger change within the code, we'll bring it back and consider it again for potential change at that time.
So my final question is, if you want to look at that particular piece of each of our ordinances and codes, then it should be a separate item. That's my point. If you're going to say carte blanche, we shouldn't be doing this based on your legal advice, then it should be brought up as a separate item. I don't think there should be any other changes in this ordinance except the point about, it's all about adding a representative of the school district to the plan commission, and the rest of the ordinance should stay.
Well, certainly in terms of whether or not this body wants to address that particular legal issue on other areas of the code, certainly if the directive is let's get it done, we'll look to do that and get it done.
It's not on the
we've-
agenda.
Right, not this evening, but we will bring back a change, go through the appropriate channels, take it to GGF and bring it back as part of that. And certainly we can do that. The last time we discussed potentially doing that, this body didn't want to do that at the time. And so again, I have a list of various code provisions that we've identified that just need to be clarified, cleaned up, modified, whatever, that where we get into a circumstance where we actually then are touching it, it makes some sense to add some additional changes. Now, in terms of, your code provision should have only one thing, that's just not true. We routinely make wholesale changes within codes all the time. This isn't any different. You may have an issue with any particular one change that's here, and you're free to make an amendment to make the change, to put it back or to change it however you want. But we routinely make changes to code that include more than just one piece that's there all the time.
When was the last time?
I mean, certainly without looking at any of the particular zoning code amendments, which would also apply, since I know we've had some of those where we've made changes that were text amendments, where there was more than just one particular change that was made. I can tell you that certainly one of the changes that you will see that's still in the process of working. In fact, I think it's scheduled to be on the agenda for public safety on Monday is the noise ordinance regulations. But that's again, future looking. We had an ordinance in April where we revised election wards and we were changing multiple sections of the code in that particular case. We had the ordinance that amended that was part of this in terms of the administrator's authority. We had an ordinance that amended various changes that related to the traffic code centering around reckless driving and some changes that the state law made. That was back in April of last year. We did, I can go through the whole list of every ordinance I've ever touched, but.
It's pretty basic that one thing was touched. So.
No, not at all. You're wrong on that. We change things all the time. In fact, it's not unusual for us to take whole code sections and just repeal the entire code section and adopt the replacement code section. We haven't done that here in a while, but it happens in other communities all the time. We just did one in Mequon relating to the sign code that we did there. It happens all the time in every community. The idea that your ordinance touches one concept and one idea only is just wrong. There's no truth to it at all.
So but the idea was to bring forward one concept and you're adding in others. The point of this is to bring a representative of the school district onto the plan commission. And I think that's what we should vote on.
Correct. And as part of that, as I've said, when we touch provisions of the code in a substantial way, it is not unusual for us to make corrections and changes to things that we otherwise know to be the case. And again, if you have any issues with either of the other two changes that are being proposed, make an amendment, put it on the floor, and the body can decide whether or not it's appropriate or not to vote to deal with. But to say that we can't ever have an ordinance that doesn't address anything more than one thing is just wrong.
I think they should be voted on separately. And I would like to make an amendment. I agree to disagree.
Do you want to vote on them separately? Your appropriate way by Robert's rules to do that would be to have a motion to split the question. You split the question, you can vote on each one of the individual changes individually. Or if you want to propose an amendment, you can propose an amendment as well.
I'd like to propose that we amend this ordinance by taking out the second change and the third change. And leave in the plan commission representative of the school district.
So for the purposes of just clarifying, if I may, what you're proposing is an amendment to remove the changes that relates to the nomination by the village president and confirmed by the village board. And then also the deletion of the last sentence of that particular section related to the lack of quorum and having trustee members temporarily sit on the plan commission to create a quorum. Correct?
Correct.
Motion made. Do we have a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. I have a question. Is this changes to this ordinance as it sits here today and as part of the backup, what was put before the plan commission?
Yes.
Weren't you at the plan commission meeting?
I wasn't on the dais.
Weren't you there?
I think I was.
And at the time that it was all discussed and went through, each item was listed? Because your comment earlier before you started your discussion on that was that
It doesn't
these
matter.
changes were slid in. They weren't slid in. They were proposed at the time that the plan commission
I
heard
could
this the
vote on
first
it.
time. So to
Right.
say that they were slid in like at the last moment is really not a correct statement. As proposed to the plan commission, this ordinance is the same as it was that night. That's correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Okay,
Well,
so
I
you're
I
changing-
don't agree with it. Let's just leave it at that. Agree to disagree. I don't agree with this.
you don't agree with the changes.
I don't
Okay,
agree with all of the points on the ordinance.
Okay. Further discussion on the motion to amend. Trustee Bob?
So what I'm gathering is that whenever we change another ordinance, every sentence that comes through that's being changed has to come through separately
Based on
That's-
our argument?
based on this argument. So this would have to come through 3 separate times to have 3 separate things come through. And when we have something that is changing language 20 times in a 30-page ordinance, it's got to come through 20 times to be approved. That's ridiculous.
Well, that's your opinion, but at least it should be broken down into A, B, and C. Because it's 3 separate points.
It is.
It's
As
not.
it
You have
shows in
to-
the backup.
But we're asked to vote on it as it is.
As it changes recommended by the plan commission to the ordinance.
Unders-
Changes.
So
Okay, I get it. You don't
I
agree.
don't agree.
Okay. Further discussion on the motion to remove the last 2 items of the ordinance. No further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
I
How many are in favor? Okay, motion fails. Back to the motion. Further discussion? No further discussion? As an ordinance changes, it need roll call? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? None opposed?
I'm opposed.
One
As it
opposed,
stands.
1 opposed. Motion carries. That takes care of all items under new business and on the agenda tonight. Our next village board meeting will be on September 15th? 16th at 7 PM here at the Village Hall Boardroom. And next week at 6:30 is Plan Commission also here at the Village Hall Boardroom. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you all for watching. Have a good night. We are adjourned. That's fine.